guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's EAHamm and I offer writing tips as well as motivational ideas on writing. And today I want to talk to you about being able to finish your story. Now, in previous videos, I had talked about writing poetry as well as Camp NaNoWriMo, and I talked a little bit about my writing history, but I didn't really speak about the fiction that I have written throughout the years. One of the biggest things that I find in the writing world is struggling to be able to finish a story, to complete it. It is so easy to come up with ideas and to start running with them, but it's a little bit harder to actually finish. But the one thing that I have learned throughout my practice in writing is to actually sit down and think of how I wanted to end my story. Now, for years and years, I have been what you would call a pantser. And a pantser is somebody that just sits down and writes with no plan in mind. They just sit and write whatever is at the top of their head. And as they're writing, the story flows. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But the one thing that always hindered me in the past is knowing my beginning but not knowing my ending. So when I began to sit down and think about this, I began to try to think, how do I want this story to end? What is the main goal? And when that came to mind, then I knew that I had a target to which I wanted to hit. And so the first thing I want to point out is to always have a writing plan. Whether you pants or you outline, at least have a plan for your beginning and your end. And if you know what your ending is, then you have a specific goal that you're trying to reach. The second thing I think that would help you in finishing your story is to try to write the same time every day. Now, I understand some people have different schedules. You may work daytime one day, afternoon time the next, and that's fine. And if that's the case, then just sit down and just like you would have your work schedule, sit down and try to write out your writing schedule. Some days you might work, other days might be a chore day, errand day. Whatever the fact or whatever this instance is for you, at least like you would have a grocery list or like you would have a work schedule or like you would have a schedule to feed your baby if you have one or a schedule to walk your dog, implement within your day a time to write and try to make it the same time every day. Point number 3 is get to your point. Now, there are some of us who they take a walk down this trail and they circle the rabbit hole there and then they go down this other trail and the next thing you know, they have so many words describing or telling this story that they haven't got to their point. What I'm trying to say is, when I first wrote my first draft of my novel, I could not seem to come up with enough words. For the life of me, I did not understand how in the world do I reach 50,000 words. But our brain is like a muscle, and that part of us that we continually exercise, eventually writing becomes very easy, and it becomes easier with time, and you're able to crank out more and more words. And before you know it, you have 200,000 words, and that's way too much for a story, unless you're like Stephen King, who writes these really thick novels with like 1,000 pages, which he's a phenomenal writer, and he's one of my favorites. But get to your point. Number 4, like I stated earlier, know your ending. And I don't need to repeat that, but at least know your ending. And number 5, no distractions. That is a key thing. When you sit down to write, at least know that you're in a place where you'll have 0 distractions. And I'm talking about in a day and age of electronics where our phones are going off every second with notifications from Instagram, emails, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever the case may be. And if you're like me, you're easily distracted. And so I have to do the one thing I know to do is put my phone either on airplane mode. If that doesn't work, turn it upside down. If that doesn't work, put it in a different room. Of course, you know, some of us might have kids or dogs or cats and they want to pounce on you. Try to get in a place where you're by yourself, where there's zero distractions, where the TV isn't going, and some of us write easier with our music playing. So the key to finishing your story is, number one, to have a writing plan, whether it be at least the beginning, the middle, and the end, or just the beginning and end. Number two, try to write the same time every day. And again, like I said, we're not always going to be able to write the same time, but at least have a plan or a schedule for that. Number three, get to the point. You don't need to use 5,000 adjectives and 50,000 adverbs to describe one scene. You get my picture. Number four, know your ending. That ties in with number one. And number five, no distractions. So I'm hoping that this will help you in writing your story. Now, I am working on the third draft of my book. I have not decided which genre this will fall in, because it's a mixture of young adult, thriller, and historical fiction. So I have to sit down and figure that out. But I will say that when I do start writing it, I will follow this simple process in finishing my story. So if you like this content and it is something that you think will benefit your life, go ahead and click subscribe and go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. You can follow me on Twitter at EAHamm with two M's, not three, 03, and on Instagram at EA_Hamm, HAMM. And I will link below my Twitter and Instagram, as well as my email. If you have any questions to go with my Coffee with Liz segment, I can try to answer you the best that I can. And I am hoping that you get to writing and you can finish your story. Goodbye.